What's going on, guys? It's the Coaster Battleman here with number 10 through number 1 on the top 50 roller coasters I've ever ridden. Let's do this. Number 10 is Thunderbird at Holiday World, and this is an awesome B&M launched wing coaster. This is the best Bolliger and Maverick wing coaster I've ever ridden because, while it has the first launch is just absolutely excellent. It's so much fun. The inversions all deliver, and it's a lot more fast paced than the other wing coasters like Gatekeeper and X Flight. Those are the other two that I've ridden. This one delivers a lot stronger of an experience. It's also quite a bit smoother than every single one of those other wing coasters I've ridden. But with this ride, this is a really cool coaster. You fly at high speeds through the trees. You have some awesome inversions, bank turns, and a really nice set of near-miss elements at the end of the ride. This is a really cool coaster, solid ride time, really picturesque. It's an excellent experience. Number 9 is Diamondback at Kings Island, and this is an awesome B&M hypercoaster, the best coaster at Kings Island, no doubt about that. The first drop is excellent. The airtime is plentiful, and there's so much of it. It's so amazing. And even though this coaster, yeah, it does have your traditional Kings Island B&M rattle, it doesn't really matter. This is a very smooth coaster despite that, and the airtime is excellent no matter what seat you're sitting in. But towards the back, you're going to get the strongest airtime on this coaster. Number 8 is Twisted Timbers at King's Dominion, not Kings Island. This is the best coaster at King's Dominion. It has a really cool barrel roll drop, some great airtime moments, and this is an ejector airtime machine compared to Diamondback, which is a floater airtime machine. This ride also has a bunch of inversions throughout the ride to go along with those massive ejector airtime hills that it has. This is a really fun coaster. Even though it's not the largest ride in the world, it delivers such an experience. It packs a big punch. Number 7 is Intimidator at Carowinds, and this has fallen off from where it was a few years ago for me because I've yet to really go back and ride this coaster, and I feel like there's a few coasters that either have been better for me experience-wise, or there's just some new rides that I've ridden that I put a bit higher than it. But that doesn't take away from how great this coaster is. It has a smooth layout. It's glossy smooth, has some great airtime, some really solid turns throughout the ride as well. And it has a really nice out and back style layout where it has more of an L shape compared to a traditional out and back line. It's a really cool coaster. The airtime, even though it's despite the trim brakes on the hills, it doesn't matter. The airtime is excellent on this ride. It's a really solid, well-rounded B&M hypercoaster. Number 6 is Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City, and my goodness, this coaster is the most bizarre roller coaster I've ever ridden, and it's so cool just the way it is. That first drop, you're spinning, you could be sideways, backwards, forwards at an angle on this first drop, and that applies to all the elements on this coaster: sideways airtime, sideways inversions, angular inversions, and airtime. This ride provides a different experience every time. It's way better than the SNS 40 free flies, which they do provide different experiences every time, but the spinning experience is so cool and it's so much fun. The ride's also really, really smooth, has a great setting. Easily the best coaster at Silver Dollar City without a doubt. This is such a good ride. It's so much fun, and it will leave you with a smile after riding every single time. It's so good. Number 5 is Maverick at Cedar Point. This is a really cool, intimate blitz coaster. It is absolutely jam-packed with insane ejector airtime, a couple of inversions, and a really intense tunnel launch as well. You have some really intense turns throughout the ride as well. It's super fun, really well-rounded coaster, And despite its small size, it just packs so much into its layout. And it's a pretty long ride as well. It just never seems to stop. Number 4 is the massive coaster right next to Maverick is Steel Vengeance, another awesome Cedar Point coaster. And Cedar Point, huge shout out to them. They have so many elite coasters, and Steel Vengeance is one of them. And you might be asking, how is this not the best coaster in the world? Well, it's my preference, and this coaster delivers such a crazy ride. And I have to give credit where credit is due. That drop is excellent. The airtime is the best airtime, without a doubt, on any coaster I've ever ridden. This is the strongest airtime. The inversions are excellent as well, and you can get some great airtime on the inversions as well because of the restraint system. This is such a crazy coaster. Even if you're stapled, you're still going to get flown out of your seat on this ride. And even that beginning section before the lift hill, you're with those very, very tiny little hills. It's insane. And the grand finale on this ride is awesome with 6 airtime hills back to back to back to back to back, all in a row. And it delivers some crazy ejector airtime. And despite some pain on some of those smaller airtime hills, this ride is just so crazy, so much fun. But not my favorite coaster at Cedar Point somehow. It's because of this thing, Millennium Force. Still my favorite coaster at Cedar Point. It was Steel Vengeance, but rewriting Millennium Force after a few years later, Millennium has delivered for me the better overall experience. And this is my type of ride. I really love smooth, long, drawn out coasters, but I do want some intensity and airtime to go along with it to make it a really well rounded, all around experience. And this ride has what I want. It has the height, it has the speed, it has some great bank turns, and you can gray out on this coaster. It's fairly intense. There's some great airtime moments as well. A couple good floater hills. The drop provides some awesome airtime, and there's a really cool ejector airtime hill towards the end of the ride. And you can't, and every time you're in that station, that theme song is just too much fun. It's such a great listen. It's just this ride is just amazing. But it's somehow not in my top 2 because there are only 2 coasters that are better than it. And even though this ride is that good, Mako is my number 2. This is the best B&M hyper roller coaster that I've ridden. Not hyper model. There's another B&M hyper model that's higher than this, and you probably already know what it is by now after watching several of my videos from 2018 onward. But Mako, this is an awesome coaster. It has the best layout of any B&M hyper coaster. Its first half is so good. That first drop is excellent. The bank turns are really good. The airtime is strong and on point. This ride is glossy smooth, has a beautiful color scheme, great setting, and it's a really iconic ride at SeaWorld Orlando. And there's some really cool turns and helix sections at the end of the ride that are really good. This is a awesome all-around coaster and definitely worth checking out if you're in Florida. This is without a doubt the best roller coaster in Florida. Even if I get around to riding the new coaster that came out at Universal, the Velocicoaster, I'd still believe that this is the better ride. And number 1, you probably already knew that this was going to be number 1. It's Fury 325 at Carowinds. This is the greatest roller coaster ever built of all time. No question about that, in my opinion. This ride has the stats with the height, the speed, the length. This ride delivers some amazing bank turns, airtime hills, glossy smooth experience. The treble clef element is excellent. The airtime is on point. It's amazing. And this ride is so iconic, beautiful coaster, picturesque. Easily the greatest roller coaster I've ever ridden. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, stay tuned for more videos.